Cricket is my passion and I cannot avoid it.
The big final happening tomorrow at the Dubai Cricket Stadium between Australia and New Zealand. Mind you, New Zealand has not beaten Australia in a knockout game since 1981. Will they do it tomorrow or not? Or will Australia once again be the winners? To discuss about it, I have the legendary Shane Watson with me. Hello and welcome to the show, Shane.
Hi, Ernest. Thanks for having me again. Yes, what a big game we've got coming up.
Oh, yes, Watto, can't wait for it. Less than 24 hours for the game to begin. And I can see the big, broad smile. Think Australia all the way favorites to go and clinch yet another title?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely, I do. Australia playing very good at the right times. To be able to beat Pakistan, who obviously are an incredible T20 team and a T20 unit, was an incredible effort. And I just think Australia just got too much firepower for the Kiwis. Obviously, incredibly good. They're so consistent. They're so well planned. But I just feel the firepower for the Aussies and their knowledge on how to win these big events as well, and consistently, like they have a few of the players in particular. Then I've got a good feeling.
All right, you mentioned a very valid point, the knowledge of winning big events. Now, the last time Australia won was during your 2015 final, the last tournament for Australia. It's now been 7 years. Mind you, after that, New Zealand have made it to 3 finals. One is the 2019 World Cup, the World Test Championship final, and this year, out of this, they won the 2019. So would you count New Zealand totally out, or New Zealand have an outside chance?
Oh, I definitely don't count New Zealand out because they are an outstanding team across all formats. As you mentioned there, to be able to be in the World Test Championship, and they won that, the 50 over World Cup, which, gosh, is a tie just about. And yeah, since 2015, they have been, again, they're still flying under the radar and in their own way, but they just always find themselves and play good enough cricket to hold it on long enough to be able to just find those little moments in games across all formats to be able to get across the line. So no, absolutely I'm certainly not ruling out New Zealand at all, because they've continued to improve and get better on the big stage. And they've shown that by making the most finals out of any country over the last 5 or 6 years. So they certainly know how to make finals and also win a Test Championship. But again, I just go back to the firepower that the Australians have got. New Zealand are going to have a lot of match winners coming at them, and they do have a great ability to be able to negate those match winners for them to be able to continue to perform like they have. But there's going to be a number of them thrown at them by the Aussies, so they're going to have to be ready to go.
Okay, fair point, Watto. But win the toss, win the final. Is it going to be the tempo?
Well, with the statistics would say maybe yes, as in the last 12 games, 11 have won batted second. The only game that was won first was New Zealand against Scotland on a really nice wicket. So from my perspective, I think the toss has more of a bearing for New Zealand if they win it, because they will try and restrict Australia under 165. Because if the Australians on a really nice wicket, and the wickets have been outstanding in Dubai over the last probably 4 or 5 games in particular, if New Zealand have to chase over 165, they don't have as much firepower to be able to try and get across the line. If they're chasing below 165, they've got the players to be able to just find their way to just get into the zone and just chip away at chasing them that total. Whereas for the Australians, I'm not as concerned if they bat first or second, because on a really good wicket, they're going to take the game on no matter what, whether they bat first or second, and they've got the players and the power to be able to set a really big total if they bat first. So for me, I'm not as concerned from an Australian's point of view, but for New Zealand, I think it's going to be really important for them to win the toss to give themselves as good a chance as they can to win this final.
I'm glad you mentioned this point that Australia has the firepower. But mind you, against Pakistan, they were on the mat at 96 for 5 in 12.2 overs. But then they had a few chances going their way. The fielding of Pakistan, the runouts missed. You think New Zealand will give this chance to Australia if the similar situation comes?
Well, history's shown probably not. They've always found a way to be able to capitalise on those openings that opposition gives them. So probably not, but New Zealand don't have the exact same firepower as Shane Shafferty is a starting point. Yes, Trent Bolt's very, very good, but Shane Shafferty bowling 150k late swinging into a right-hander away from a left-hander is crazily good. So yeah, I don't think New Zealand won't give as many opportunities, but for me, the confidence that Australia will get, especially Marcus Stoinis and especially Matthew Wade, know that they can perform under pressure, chasing in particular in a big moments. That's going to give everyone around the group, not just Wade and Stoinis, the confidence to know that even if they get in a bit of trouble, there's different people who are going to put their hands up and have got the firepower to be able to get the team across the line. So for me, it really it's going to galvanize the group even more, knowing that, well, Dave Warner really was the only one who scored runs. Mitch Marsh was brilliant, even though it was 28. He only scored 28, but it was such a crucial 28, fighting fire with fire. So from Australia's point of view, they'll just have confidence that Finch didn't fire, got out first ball, that they can still find a way to be able to get across the line. They've got, and Glenn Maxwell didn't fire as well, but they've still got firepower down there to be able to get 11s off 6 or 7 overs, which the Australians had to do to be able to chase those runs down against Pakistan.
Both captains have not had a good tournament with the bat, with Williamson 129, and I'm afraid Finch also not doing so well. To lead from the front would be in their mind?
Of course, yeah, well, absolutely, both of them. Kane Williamson this year in T20s hasn't had his best year. That's for sure. He's got a few not outs in this tournament when the team again were chasing a sort of lower total, and that's where Kane Williamson comes into his own in particular, because unless he really needs to put the foot down, he won't. Aaron Finch, he's never really scored a lot of runs in the UAE, and he batted nicely in a couple of games, but he definitely doesn't look like he's at his absolute best. He's moving around in the crease a lot. It just, things don't look like he's picking up the ball consistently really good. Whereas Dave Warner, for example, he's obviously flicked the switch in the last couple of games, and you can see he's at his absolute best. So Finch, it's a big game for him. Unfortunately, the records so far, apart from a semi-final against India in the 2015 World Cup, he hasn't scored a lot of runs in finals. So, which means he's well due for runs in a final. Which, for Australia's sake, let's hope so. From the skipper leading from the front, but Kane Williamson, he gets it done. He's such a cool, calm character that he will find his bubble and get into his bubble and stay there, because he's just such an incredible player, and he'll just find the way to be able to be effective.
Well, both teams got out of jail in their semi-finals. We know New Zealand was struggling and came James Neesham, and in the other game, Australia had Matthew Wade and Stoinis. So my point is, if it comes into such a scenario, it's not going to be that easy as we saw in the semi-finals. Okay, you had to win the semi-finals, but final, is there more pressure, or there's semi-final more pressure?
Any knockout game, there's pressure, and it's the same pressure. Well, not possibly. It is in a final. It's probably built up even more in your own mind, just individually, let alone the team. It's just like, wow, this is our chance for Australia. This is our chance of winning the first ever T20 World Cup. We've only ever made the final once in 2010. This is our opportunity. So instead of it just being another game and the same skills are on display, it's in people's own minds are building it up to even bigger than what it is. Instead of it's just another game. That's the mindset. Both teams, when players are at their best, that's where they get to. They go, well, it's just another game, and that's where I've just got to execute my skills. But any knockout game is a big one, semi-final or final. It's still really big, and it is the team really who's able to just do as Ricky Ponting would always say to me, as captain of the teams that I played under, the team who wins in the big games are the ones who do the basics for longer. The simple basics under pressure, the teams that do it for longer, the individuals that do it for longer are going to be the ones who have more success and the most success. And that's going to be the final coming up tomorrow.
So boys and girls, what to say is Ricky Ponting always said the teams which does the basics right for a longer period generally goes on to win the big match. We'll have to wait and watch that. But I want to ask you, if you are Kane Williamson, how are you going to stop the rampaging David Warner?
That's challenging. They're going to have to be super reliant on Southey and Bolt just bowling, wicket-taking balls early to be able to get him out. I think Southey with the ball that sort of leaves the left-hander, that sort of scrambled seam ball, the one that Stuart Broad's bowled to Dave Warner in the past in Test cricket, more so in England when the ball's swinging more with the Duke ball. But I think they're going to hope that Tim Southey's got a couple of those balls in him to be able to get him out, because at the moment Dave Warner is at his absolute best. That innings that he scored against the West Indies and then the 49 against an incredible bowling attack of Pakistan, that was an amazing innings. So they're going to have to find a way. They have to find a way. They have to bowl wicket-taking balls, because Dave's going to be up and about for this. I know how much it's going to mean to him to be a part of Australia winning a T20 World Cup. So he's going to be up and about.
And from Australia's point of view, who's the danger person? Pairing Williamson, who's not scored runs. Do you see James Neesham as a threat?
James Neesham is certainly a threat, because, well, gosh, he has to be a threat. 27 off 11 balls against England when they were really in a lot of trouble was James Neesham for sure. Kane Williamson definitely is a big game player. The other one's Martin Guptill, because he has had a lot of success against Australia of recent times as well. So, and he can score quickly. He's got a really good record against Zampa as well. He scores quickly against Zampa. So if he gets into those middle overs and still batting, then he can really take the game away from Australia. I suppose my biggest question mark, as it was for England going into their semi-final when they had to have an enforced change with Jason Roy coming out and Bairstow slotting up to the top order, and then Billings coming in, is with Devon Conway. With him not playing because of a broken hand, I'm sure he won't ever punch his bat again. You learn the hard way. Sometimes in life you do learn the hard way, and this is a very hard lesson for him to learn. But that's just he's been really good for them. He hasn't scored heaps of runs or that quickly, but he's just been a really calming influence through those middle overs in particular, to sort of, again, the New Zealand sort of game plan, just to stay in the game long enough to then find a little opening. And Devon Conway, that's a massive hole, because New Zealand haven't changed their team at all throughout the whole tournament. And now in the final, because a broken hand, that's going to upset the apple cart a little bit. And New Zealand really do need that continuity to be able to be at their absolute best. So for me, I think Australia are going to will try and capitalize on that opportunity that Devon Conway's presented, because he doesn't have thick enough gloves to be able to absorb a punch in the bat.
The spin quality, here you have Zampa, who's been the best bowler for Australia, going at a terrific, his economy. And when you compare to New Zealand, it's Ish Sodhi and Santner. Which team has the upper hand in the spin department?
I think Ish Sodhi and Adam Zampa have got they nearly cancel each other out. The only advantage that I think is Zampa doesn't go for as many runs. He doesn't bowl as many loose balls as Ish Sodhi does. Ish Sodhi bowls more wicket-taking balls because he spins the ball a little bit harder, but he bowls a few more looser balls compared to Adam Zampa. He's got a bit more control, mainly because he's not trying to spin the ball as big as Ish Sodhi. He's a bigger turn of the ball. Mitchell Santner, look, if he gets a bowl, I'm sure he would have been talking to Kane Williamson about that over that he didn't bowl and Glenn Phillips did, which hopefully that doesn't happen in the final. Your best players, your best bowlers have got to bowl the key overs, whether it's a left-hander or a right-hander, who cares? Get your best bowlers on. So Mitchell Santner's a quality bowler. Australia's got, well, a lot of right-handers apart from Dave Warner at the top. There might be a time where Australia maybe send in Matthew Wade to try and break that up potentially. But the upper hand, I think they really nearly cancel each other out in a way, but cancel each other out in a really good way, because they're both the combination of Santner and Ish Sodhi, especially Ish Sodhi's a wicket taker. Mitch Santner does a great job. He can take wickets and can restrict the runs, and he's got a good record against a lot of the Aussies. And Adam Zampa has been absolutely outstanding this tournament. His ability to take wickets through the middle, which is so crucial, but then the perfect T20 bowl, he's taking wickets and he's hardly going for any runs at all. He's going for nearly less than 6 and over throughout this whole tournament, which is just gold dust for a captain to be able to have that. So that battle in particular is going to be brilliant to be able to watch. The opening battle between the Australians, both when they're batting and bowling against New Zealand, because they both match up incredibly well. That's going to be amazing to watch, but also through those middle overs, how both teams take on the spinners through those middle overs is going to be a really telling tale to the whole game.
All right, Watto, I want your prediction. I know it's which team you're going to predict, but I want to have, if Australia is going to win, who's the hero with the bat and ball? And if New Zealand is going to win, who's going to be a hero with the bat and ball?
Okay, if Australia wins, Dave Warner and Mitchell Starc are going to be the match winners. And if New Zealand win, I think it's going to be Ish Sodhi and Martin Guptill.
All right. So remember, guys, if Australia win, it's going to be David Warner and Mitchell Starc. And if New Zealand win, it's Ish Sodhi and you said Martin Guptill. Am I right?
Martin Guptill, that's it.
All right. So that is what the great Watto says. And he believes Australia has the edge and they should win the first title. And we're going to have a new champion tomorrow. We'll definitely come back with Watto for our last session for the post-match tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands up once again for the one and only Shane Watson.
Thanks, Dennis. Big night. I can't wait to watch it.
All right. See you soon.
Good on you, mate.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.